Segment 9, Raditz and Saga Gohan. So Raditz believed that Saiyan identity alone guaranteed their superiority. We've talked about that in the past, especially recently. And Dragon Ball repeatedly proves that that mindset was wrong. Because Gohan surpasses him not just physically, as I talked about earlier, but also philosophically, most importantly. You see, Gohan adapts. He adapts quickly. He learns, and he questions himself, which is very important for evolution and growth long term in any warrior, any scholar, anyone that's trying to be better at what you're doing. Raditz never did. He never was willing to adapt. He never was willing to learn anything outside of what he had already learned. And he never questioned himself. Think about it. The version of Raditz we saw as a kid more or less was the same exact Raditz that arrived on Earth as an adult 20 or 30 years later to terrorize his then nephew. Like, how crazy is that? He did really no evolution. He was quote-unquote strong for where the Z Fighters and Goku were at that time in the Saiyan saga, but that was it, man. He hadn't changed that much. Vegeta, on the other hand, really could have effed things up very quickly when he arrived, and there didn't have to be a long-term fight or delay or anything. If Vegeta really wanted to get down and dirty, he could have. But Vegeta, being as prideful as he was going to have things play out the way they did, more or less, because that's just where his pride and his arrogance was going to take him. And that's what makes his character in that first introduction in Dragon Ball Z awesome. But Vegeta was always going to continue to evolve, even if he wasn't mentioning or saying anything about it. Raditz, on the other hand, did obviously none of this. And that's probably why Raditz obviously disappeared from relevance so quickly, because his failure to evolve as a character with any mindset obviously was his demise. He really symbolized a version of Saiyan culture that Dragon Ball was moving beyond, I think, at that point. So when you think about his death in that way, I guess it makes more sense. Segment 10, Gohan and Raditz. So as we talk about Dragon Ball evolving, right, and trying to get away from older roots, it's kind of clear that it's becoming more of this hybrid Saiyan evolved thing, right, that will eventually change everything in this series. And we start with Gohan, because Gohan does not think like a conqueror. He doesn't even think like a warrior half the time. And yet somehow he continuously reaches levels that pure Saiyans struggle to comprehend. Vegeta is one of those characters that is seen several times throughout the early stages of Dragon Ball Z, struggling to understand Gohan's power, but quickly after some point coming to comprehend and to realize this is just something different that is happening within the Saiyan gene pool that this hybrid Saiyan is tapping into. And, you know, we're just going to leave it at that, right? Goku always understood, I think, how powerful Gohan was. Hence why he trusted the entire fate of the planet to, you know, a kid that's, 12 years old at the time. Like, that's so insane to think about. Like, the father is like, yeah, I mean, it was going to be hard for me to beat Cell, but hey, you, son, I know you can do it. No problem. That's crazy. And it's not accidental storytelling in regards to how any of that happens. Dragon Ball is basically asking whether emotional complexity creates stronger warriors than pure aggression ever could. You have emotional complexity, which is that of Gohan, and then I think you have something that's a little bit more warrior based on pure aggression, pure power when it's necessary, and that's Goku. And you see how the two compare. And then when you look at Raditz, Raditz is the prime. Segment 11, Gohan plus Broly. Broly is raw instinct. Gohan is emotional restraint. And honestly, Dragon Ball treats both as evolutionary paths. One grows stronger through uncontrolled adaptation, while the other one grows stronger through emotional awakening. That's why both characters feel unpredictable whenever they fight, because you never really know how far either can go. And I'm very curious if we will see that at some point in Dragon Ball's return to the anime and or the manga. Segment 12, Raditz plus Gohan. Potential unlocked. So I have to personally say that seeing Gohan standing beside the Supreme Kai during the Buu saga really says a lot symbolically, because by that point in the series, Gohan had already surpassed the limitations of what Raditz believed Saiyans were supposed to become. And that's important to keep in mind, because remember, Raditz, for the very beginning of the Saiyan culture truly in the Dragon Ball Z series, not just Dragon Ball, but Dragon Ball Z. Raditz starts off with power. Okay, he's stronger than Goku, he's stronger than his brother. Vegeta and Nappa aren't on Earth yet. Raditz is the only measuring stick we have to determine how strong a Saiyan warrior can be. Gohan eventually learned, after all of these incidents and traumas leading up to where he's standing beside Supreme Khan the Buu Saga, Gohan eventually learns responsibility. True responsibility of what it takes not just to be a warrior, but a Saiyan warrior with the power that he does possess. That's a massive difference, and Dragon Ball quietly rewards that evolution for Gohan over time, if you really notice it.